Hello, it is the week 4 edition of the Monster Pod here on the Lines, thelines.com. Joined by Connor Allen, 4 for 4. If you haven't taken in all of their great work over there, not just sports betting, you get the fantasy stuff, you get the DFS stuff, you get to take advantage of their hard work and projections as well to help you become a winning player across the board. So please go over and check out 4for4.com. I am Matt Brown. That is Stephen Andress, as we are each and every week for the longest time here. And fellas, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Pittsburgh Steelers and the Indianapolis Colts. This is 1.5 in favor of the Steelers on the road over the Colts. This is market low of 39.5, pretty much 40 consensus across the board there for a total in this. Connor, we have a Steelers team that has found themselves. It was one of the couple undefeated teams left in the NFL. You've got a very inconsistent Colts team so far, certainly at the quarterback position with Anthony Richardson. That said, they're only a 1.5 dog here at home to Pittsburgh. What do you see in this one?
Yeah, I didn't want to be on it, but I kind of like Pittsburgh to win outright here. They're just a very, I would say, clean team right now. They're playing old school football. They're playing good defense. You know, like they're running the ball routinely well. And now they're getting a spot here against Indianapolis, who really struggled against the run in weeks 1 and 2, and then played really well against week 3 against the Bears, who can't run the ball against anyone, apparently. So I don't think that I don't put too much into week 3. I think that we see Najee Harris and the Steelers get going here. I think Najee Harris prop overs are interesting too, with Jalen Warren out, with Cordarrelle Patterson likely out as well. So those are my two looks there: Pittsburgh money line and Najee Harris overs.
Steven, we take a look at Pittsburgh so far, and really, really good defensive play. I think we probably expected that out of this team, and it has allowed this offense to where they don't really have to light it up to get some W's on the scoreboard here. And the way that we've seen Anthony Richardson play, I don't know if that's really going to change here. I think first 1 to 20 might win this thing, and I don't know. I would probably lean towards Pittsburgh getting to that 20 mark.
Yeah, I can't say I'm confident either team will get to 20 in this game. I mean, you know, I think with Anthony Richardson, you have a quarterback that, in my opinion, has the biggest range of outcomes any given week. So that makes it really hard for me to have any confidence when I'm betting one team or the other on the spread. But I feel really confident in the under in this game. So I bet under 40. I'm not sure a Pittsburgh Steelers game is allowed to start with a 4 when it comes to the total at this point. They haven't given up more than 10 points in a game. Their pace matters when you're betting it over. They are 29th in seconds per play this year. They also run it a ton. They're 30th in pass rate, and they're not good at running the ball. They're not efficient running the ball. They're bottom 3 in success rate. So as far as the Steelers offense is concerned, that doesn't sound like a lot of points to me, Matt. And then you have Anthony Richardson, who has been Jekyll and Hyde, who now has to face who I think we all would agree would be one of the best defenses in the league. So, yeah, under 40 seemed like a pretty easy decision for me, and I just ignored the spread at that point.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's going to be on my definitely on my contest card this week, and probably will end up with some sort of bet in some fashion in my account as well. If you look at the injury report too for Indianapolis, Kwity Paye didn't practice. He's a starter. Kenny Moore didn't practice yesterday. He's a starter. Ryan Kelly on the offensive line didn't practice on a Thursday. So that would have to be a turnaround for those guys to get out there as well. So for me, I like Pittsburgh here in this one, a pretty good amount. Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers. This is 3 pretty much consensus across the board in favor of the Packers at home, though there are a couple of expensive 2.5s out there as well. 43.5 to 44 is our total. Steven, we know the story here in this one. It is, will he or won't he? Jordan Love has been out at practice. Everybody kind of assumed that this was the week that he was going to get back out there, though we have not gotten 100% confirmation that it is going to go and be him. The line indicates that it is going to be him, but we shall see. What did you do here with Vikings and Packers?
So I bet this on the look ahead line when he first returned to practice last week. That's not going to help anybody because it was Packers plus 1.5. So let's kind of analyze where we're at now. This line is close to the Jordan Love number already, right? Like it's touched 3 a couple of times this week, and there's been interest in the Vikings immediately at that point at 3. So what I'm trying to figure out, Matt, is if Jordan Love does play, is this actually going to close 3 or not? or do I need to be monitoring this like crazy if I'm interested in the Vikings at 3? I'm not sure I'm interested in Jordan Love coming back first game against Brian Flores with how embarrassing he's made two highly respected offenses look the past couple of weeks, although the 49ers were not at 100%. But Houston last week looked miserable against Flores as well. So even though the Packers have, I mean, Matt LaFleur has done the best coaching job in the league to this point. I mean, he's somehow made Malik Willis look like a decent quarterback, and you can't cover up how bad he looked before he got to Green Bay. So he may not win it, but in my mind, LaFleur's done the coach of the year job through 3 weeks at this point. So I could only be interested in Minnesota, I think, at this point, if I'm getting a full 3, but at the moment it's a stay away. The other thing I just wanted to briefly mention, Matt, with this game, Sam Darnold's been the talk of the league, big surprise this year with Kevin O'Connell guiding him to the point where Darnold has come all the way up to 3-1 to win NFL Comeback Player of the Year. They changed the rules for the award, everybody. Like the guidance literally went out and said that the Comeback Player of the Year is to, quote, honor a player who has demonstrated resilience in the face of adversity by overcoming illness, physical injury, or other circumstances that led to him missing playing time the previous season. I don't know if you guys out there are betting Sam Darnold at 3-1 or thinking about it. He cannot win unless the majority of voters just ignore these new rules. And you can't put money on that. So the Darnolds, the Justin Fields, the Kyler Murrays, who are not coming off injury last year, are completely dead in this market. Don't bet them.
I like the rant. I hope that the voters stick to the guidelines as well, because that is how I have been approaching this market from a betting angle as well. Vikings, 3rd overall in the NFL in the short season and EPA per play allowed on the defensive side of the ball. Brian Flores really has done a great job out there. I did grab up some of the Minnesota at 3, and I don't really care whether Jordan Love plays or not. And all that, giving me the full field goal with Minnesota. It looks like Jordan Addison might be back out there for Minnesota as well for the first time in a couple of weeks. So now you get an additional weapon out there for Sam Darnold. And the way that this defense has been playing and as efficient as this offense has been, I'm okay getting a full field goal with them against listen, I will always say this, and I'll preface this, let you know, Connor, as well. I've never been to 1 second of medical school, not one. Didn't go to 1 second of medical school, but I do know that Jordan Love, coming off of this MCL injury right out of the gate, is probably not going to be as effective as he was when he did not have this MCL injury that he's dealing with. And so with all that, I did take the field goal with Minnesota, feel fine with it. And if what you say is true there, Steven, if when it is officially official that Jordan Love goes, if this line moves even further, if I get on the other side of 3, then I'm going to unload the clip on this thing.
Yeah, I agree. That at that point, it's an easy decision for me if I'm getting the hook.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see how the market reacts to the news there. What say you, Connor?
Yeah, I'm not sure that we get a 3.5, to be honest, because again, I think there'd be like a ton of interest at 3.5 on the Minnesota side for a lot of the reasons that you guys brought up here. I was really interested. So last year, if we saw these teams match up here in their first meeting, obviously we know that Brian Flores likes to blitz a ton, but he also plays a lot of zone behind it. Their first meeting, it was pretty much a complete disaster. Like Jordan Love didn't play well. And this was kind of in the first half of the season where we weren't sure if Jordan Love was even like a viable starting quarterback. And then the second half of the season, he really came out and played well. And that was their second meeting. And this is like the game that actually convinced me. I'm like, okay, this is the real deal, because he lit him up. Like, LaFleur designed a masterclass. It was, again, like a lot of short routes, combating the zone blitzes. They're getting the ball out quick. They were able to combat all of the blitzing there. So I thought that was really interesting. And so how they do that here, I'm personally not playing in the size and totals market, but I think that Jaden Reed, who had 83 and 89 yards against them last year, will play a big factor here. But I'm waiting on Jordan Love to officially play. Like, I don't want to blast Jaden Reed overs to then get Malik Willis starting. Right. Because I mean, I'll just hate myself. All Sunday I'll be like, why did I not just wait? Like, I don't care. I'll sacrifice 2-3 yards, whatever. Like, it's at 48 right now. I'll take 2-3 yards off just so I can get 100% confirmation that it's Jordan Love.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like the prop market on the Packer side of things, like, don't get caught with a ticket and it's Malik Willis. Like, don't do that.
If it's not Jordan Love, Connor, just bet Jaden Reed over 4.5 rushing yards. Like, that's what we do.
Yes. Yeah. Jaden Reed over 4.5 rushing yards, under receptions, like parlay all under receptions on all of them. Basically,
Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans. This is 6 most places. We do have 6.5 still out there in favor of the Texans at home over the Jags. 44.5 up to 45.5 out there in the market when it comes to the total. Boy, the talk this week in the NFL, Connor, has been that are the Jags the worst team in the NFL? Is Trevor Lawrence actually Daniel Jones? Is what is going to happen with this team? Are we going to see a mass coaching firings? All these different stuff that's going on with the Jags, which leads us into a road game in which they are nearly a touchdown underdog to the Houston Texans. What do you see in this one?
Yeah, I mean, Doug Peterson needs to be fired. I mean, not just because I bet on him to be the first coach fired, but I think he legit needs to be fired, actually. It's just not going well. I mean, we've seen multiple years now. Like, it's just not clicking. It's partially on Lawrence. It's partially on the offensive line. It's partially on everything. But in my opinion, they need to make a change here. My biggest note on this game is not necessarily the side of the total. It's another kind of prop angle here.
Yep.
The issue is that this entire Houston wide receiver core is just like banged up. We have Nico Collins put on the injury report yesterday. Monitor his status, because if he plays and is like, and it was basically nothing, or maybe a rest day or something like that, he has an amazing matchup. He leads the team in target rate against man. The Jags are allowing over 10 yards per target 10 yards per target to opposing wideouts that play on the outside this season. Nico Collins is like an alpha, basically just plays on the outside. Tank Dell not going to play. Stephon Diggs against man has like a 5% less target share, and the Jags lead the league in man rate. It's like north of 60%. So I think that, like, again, as long as Nico Collins is like, he doesn't even need to be 100%, 80%, 90%, he's going to have an absolute monster day here against the Jags. So that's probably my favorite angle in this one so far.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to get Joe Mixon or Dameon Pierce back in there as well. So those guys look like they're not going for the Texans. So we're going to get another week of Cam Akers out there. I'm sure everybody in DFS that wasted their money on Cam Akers last week is going to rush back to get Cam Akers back in their lineups this week. On the Jacksonville side of things, dealing with a few injuries, Evan Ingram to a couple DMPs in a row. Again, doesn't look like he's going to get back out there for Jacksonville. Steven, what do you like here in Jags and Texans?
It's a stay away for me, but I'll share with you guys. Our lead writer, Eli Hershkovich, did take 7 when it was available on the Jaguars. And I'll just share one nugget from his betting column at TheLines.com. He wrote that the Jags D runs cover 1 at the top rate in the league. And CJ Stroud's accuracy versus man defense ranks near the 20th percentile among qualified quarterbacks. That's on top of the Texans passing attack being 5th worst in success rate against zone defenses so far this year. So it's not exactly clicking on all cylinders yet for the Houston Texans, despite all these wide receivers. So that's just one nugget. You can read his full analysis if you want to see why he fully bet Jags +7 this week. For me, I wasn't surprised the Jags got blown out by the Bills. I thought it was a bad matchup from the start. But when we get into situations where I felt like they weren't even like doing things smartly, they were playing soft when they have bad receivers. And it just like, it definitely stinks of bad coaching and bad preparation for me. Last year, Matt, we talked about, is Doug Peterson calling plays or not? Press Taylor's still clearly calling plays. They showed him a couple times on the sideline. Like, he's not anywhere near as good of a play caller as Doug Peterson, who's won a Super Bowl calling plays. So if I thought that preparation was still going to be okay for the Jags, I'd be more confident in it. But I mean, we'll talk about another team. I see like similarities with Chicago here, right? With just preparation and schematic issues with the Jags. So I'm just going to stay away from this game.
This Jags defense is, for all of the offensive problems, the defense is really what has me kind of having a little bit of interest in the Texans. I mean, they're the 4th worst team in the NFL when it comes to EPA per play allowed. If you go in and you look too, there's just nothing from a pressure standpoint that they're getting on the quarterback and all that. And I get the stats that you were talking about there that Eli put in his article, Steven, but I mean, it's got to be like the tiniest of tiny sample size. He's only been in the league a year and nobody runs man anymore. So it's kind of like, it's got to be like a microscopic sample size of when he's actually been against man coverage, So like, I don't know. I feel like I should take Stroud and this team over what has proven to be one of the worst defenses in the NFL so far. But I haven't put it in the account yet. For some reason, something's holding me up, and it's probably what you were talking about I have eyeballs. And so I've seen this Texans team not look incredibly efficient yet, right? And so that's
Yeah,
the thing. I think
that's the thing for me. I would like to see it first with Houston at this point. It's been a couple of weeks in a row where they just haven't figured it out.
Yeah, Connor, just out of curiosity, outside of the Nico Collins stuff, if since it doesn't look like we're going to get Tank Dell, and we should be seeing Steph Diggs run a ton more routes, just out of volume alone, is there any interest in any of that with him, or is it just like a stay away?
Yeah, I think honestly it might be a stay away because his number is like already kind of reflecting that. We're seeing the highest prop numbers that we've seen so far. Like he's in the 60s. I mean, he hasn't been lying in the 60s since like mid-season last year, before he, kind of fell off a cliff there at the end of the year. So I don't know. I think for me, it's kind of just a stay away because that's like the natural progression. There's Nico's banged up, Tank Dell's out, Steph Diggs, wheels up, which may still be a good angle. I think, he could score touchdowns or whatever in DFS, but from a prop perspective, it's probably just a stay away.
New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons. This is 2.5 in favor of the Falcons. 42 is the prevailing total here in this one. One of the first bets I put in my account this week was the Falcons. Feel really good about it. This Saints team is completely beaten up. If you did not follow the injury news this past week, it was a offensive line that was one of the worst ranked offensive lines heading into the season as it was anyway. And the only guy with any talent, and Eric McCoy, has been put on IR. And so they have a offensive line that wasn't good in the first place, and the only guy that had a little bit of talent is now placed on IR. We have a whole bunch of dudes that are banged up on the Saints side of things, and I came in with the Falcons significantly higher in my power ratings than the Saints. The Saints kind of got brought back down to earth a little bit last week with a good defensive scheme. I'm not going to write out that I think the Falcons can give them a good defensive scheme as well, and so with that, really do like the Falcons a lot under a field goal in this game. Steven, what do you like here in this one?
No bet for me, but I want to play devil's advocate with you and get your response on this because yes, they're both teams are potentially missing offensive linemen in this game, right? In the interior. So to me, if the Saints were thought to have not much talent on the offensive line coming into the year, and all of a sudden they're scoring a ton of points because we feel like it's scheme, right? They're scheming away from the talent. Even if they have backups in there, doesn't the scheme kind of mitigate that a little bit, especially with a Falcons defensive line that, doesn't exactly have Jalen Carter on the front. And I know you saw like all the tape grinders and stuff talking about Fangio going from, instead of a 4-man front, a 5 or even a 6-man front at times against this New Orleans. I'm just not sure Atlanta can replicate that. So it's only one side of the ball, but like, what's your response to that?
Well, there's cluster injuries too. So Cesar Ruiz is a guard who hasn't practiced so far this week. So he's back-to-back DNPs. And so I think you can scheme around some things. I don't know if you can scheme around cluster injuries specifically on the offensive line. And so I always try to attack multiple injuries on an offensive line because of cohesion and things like that. And so I'm not really going to deviate from that plan that's worked for me for a while, specifically against a team that, again, first couple of weeks lit things up. I'm still just not buying in completely to the Saints altogether. Plus Alvin Kamara banged up as well. Mm-hmm. He's probably going to play, but not at 100%. There's just a lot of reasons pointing me towards Atlanta under a field goal. Now, if it gets to the full 3, it's not a play for me, but definitely like them at under a field goal.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a strong opinion on this game. Mm-hmm. I think that these teams, when fully healthy, are fairly close to each other, and I don't know how to deal with the injuries right now. So you have a strong opinion with it, and I defer to you, and I don't know if Connor feels any different.
Well, let's go to Connor, who might have an opinion on this thing.
I wish I did. So I would be definitely in on New Orleans here if the offensive line was healthy. I think we saw immediately last week, what we saw in the weeks 1 and 2 from the Saints was they were able to run the ball well, and they were able to just execute play action and dial up massive plays. They tried running play action, and Jalen Carter was like living in the backfield. Yeah. Like it was like an outright disaster. Like I bet Derek Carr's over passing yards. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, this is over. Like this is just, he has no shot because, I mean, it was literally like interior pressure every single time that he was dropping back there. And that, I mean, you just can't get around that from a guy who's not like super mobile like Derek Carr. And so the question is like, can David Onyemata and the Falcons interior produce anywhere near the type of pressure? Because obviously they don't have like any kind of similarities in terms of the juice that Jalen Carter in the interior, the Eagles line has. Like, in my opinion, that's going to basically decide this game. Like, it's literally like interior pressure. If the Falcons get interior pressure, they're going to win probably by a lot. If they don't, I think that the Saints probably hang around and it's a close game, more of a toss-up. So for me, at this point, I'd probably lean towards Atlanta. But if those guys were healthy, I think they're impactful enough that I would be on Atlanta here.
Connor,
On,
didn't the same thing happen to the Falcons offense against the Chiefs when they lost interior offensive line? Chris Jones was living in the backfield, and it felt like when they had offensive line injuries, that offense completely stalled against the Chiefs as well. So I don't know, maybe I'm talking myself into an under 42.5 here, but can't we say the same thing about the Falcons offense?
Yeah, I would say I would agree. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's one of those things too that you hear it from like pocket quarterbacks that like interior pressure is actually like harder to deal with than like pressure from the edges. But Brady talks about it all the time. And that was like one of the keys to stopping him, if there was any, was like interior pressure instead of like edge pressure. Whereas like mobile quarterbacks, I think, are a little bit different because they can just flush the pocket and get out a little bit easier there.
The one other thing I want to bring out, and I'm not trying to like completely, crap on the Saints or anything like that, but like the 2 wins don't look quite near as impressive the first 2 weeks. Now that we kind of understand what this Cowboys defense is all about as well, considering how poorly they have played. We know the Panthers, I think everybody had at least some hope that the Panthers are going to be a little bit better entering the season. And then that happened and people were like, oh my God, look, this 47-10 win. And then we realized like how bad the Panthers actually were as well. And then then you go in and Fangio just kind of absolutely stifles them in week 3. So I don't know. I think we can pump the brakes, I think, a little bit on the Saints, in my personal opinion here in this one. So Los Angeles Rams and the Chicago Bears. This is 3 in favor of the Bears at home. Yes, you heard me correctly. This is a 3-point spread in favor of the Bears. 40.5 to 41 is our total. Connor, I guess the real question here is from what we've seen from this Bears offense, are they justifiable field goal favorites against anybody in the NFL?
Probably not. I mean, I played some 2.5 just because I like pain. I'm like ready to go back because we're looking at this matchup and the Rams are just so beat up. Cooper Kupp out, Puka Nacua out. Like the defense is just like a disaster from, the front to the back. Like they were already thin coming into the year and they're just not good at all, like at any level. And the Bears defense is, by far the best unit in this game right now at, current iteration. And all they need from the Bears offense is like getting the running game going a little bit. Caleb Williams has played better each week and I think should have another good game here against the Rams. The issue is just going to be mitigating some of like the disastrous, turnovers / plays here that happened that, essentially cost the Bears the game in a couple of ways. So like, I think in this spot here with the Rams are trotting out like Tutu Atwell and DeMarcus Robinson as like their 1 and 2. Like they kind of benched Jordan Whittington / Tyler Johnson, who we were expecting to play bigger roles. Like it's such a mess. Like, and they know it. They just played a bunch of 12. They ran the ball a bunch. Like they just don't really know what to do. So I know they just beat the Niners, but I kind of like Chicago in the spot at 2.5. I don't know if I'd lay the 3. I just don't know if they're going to win by more than a field goal.
Steven, look, I don't want to say the 49ers gave the game away last week. I think that's taken a little bit away from Matthew Stafford and just what what the guy's able to do. But the 49ers kind of gave the game away last week. So I think we should kind of view this while it's a W on the stat sheet and everything like that in their win-loss column, and we can't take it away from them. I don't really know if we do anything to look more positively at this Rams situation that they have going on right now.
Yeah, to borrow a term from the kids, Brock Purdy threw a dot, and it hit Ronnie Bell in both hands. And if he catches that as a professional wide receiver, the Rams never get the ball back, and the Niners just win the game, and we're not even talking about this. So I'll say it, the Niners gave the game away. There are certain teams that I will never lay a field goal with. And because let's recap here, betting 101, that means they need to win by 4 or more points for you to win your bet. And right now the Chicago Bears are on that list. Okay. If this is 3, I'm good. And I'm only looking at the Rams because it's not just that the offensive line is, running around like one of those vintage tabletop football games where you line them up, you flip the switch, and they just go in like random different directions, and you see if your little figurine's going to score a touchdown. Like there are plays where that's where the Bears offensive line looks like right now because they don't know what the hell they're doing. There are plays where he has no hot route when he has an all-out blitz coming at
him. Hot
route! Red 7. I read that DJ Moore ran all go routes and screens in a game. Like, I don't know what the hell Shane Waldron's doing, but all the people that said that Caleb Williams was coming into the best situation a number 1 pick has ever had was clearly only talking about the receivers around him and not about the actual coaching. Because this coaching staff, again, is showing us that they can't figure it out early in the season. Now, it's generally too simplistic to say that this quarterback and head coach is clearly better than that quarterback and head coach. And Connor is right. The defense in this game is the best unit for the Bears. But I'm going to borrow a phrase from, our friend Rich Ryan, who, Mona War and Brett Colson on our staff. They're on a sister pod called Gridiron Gamble. Rich likes to say the bad defense, the good defense, bad offense team is a bad team. So I need to see all this schematic coaching issues and red flags worked out before I'm ever interested in laying it with the Chicago Bears. And full disclosure, I bet Rams money line early in the week. And frankly, I'm shocked to see how much love the Bears got. So I'm sitting on a bad number right now. But even though I did not have the line go my way, I really don't feel terrible about having Rams money line still at this point.
Yeah, I don't have anything in this one. I do get a little bit of, and I'm not saying that Caleb Williams is Zach Wilson, and I'm not saying this, but I do get a little bit of like Jets from last year vibe with the Bears right now, which is like the defense is always going to keep the game like pretty close and make you feel interested, but the offense isn't going to ever really get anything going. I think Caleb Williams can get better. I'm not one of those guys who's jumping off the bandwagon after 3 games. I think that's silly, but
he's being hung out to dry on too many plays by his coaching staff, in my opinion, Matt.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
It's Shane Waldron, I think. I mean, like you said, like Houston blitzed every play. They had no short routes. They had no max protects. They had nothing going out for any quick routes. Like anyone who's played Madden should know better than like what to do and like how to combat this. Like I'm like sitting there, I'm like, what? They're just gonna let him get eaten alive? Like that's it? That you have no answer?
And the answer was yes. And the answer is yes. That's what they were going to do. Like they're going to do that. But if you guys go in, I mean, and you look at if you do look at the stats on the defense has been fantastic. And the defense, I think, is going to be able to do enough to keep this game close with the Rams. So for me, it would be a lean towards the Bears, shockingly enough, if this thing ever got under 3 again. I don't know if it will, given the situation that the Rams are currently in. Philadelphia Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is 1.5 to 2 points in favor of the Eagles on the road against the Bucs. 42.5 to 43 is our total. We know it is going to be a wide receiver core that is a shell out there for this Eagles team, which is why we're looking at such a short spread in this one, though the Bucs are dealing with a bunch of injuries as well, Steven.
Yeah, I feel like the Eagles' injuries matter more, though. I mean, the Bucs' injuries definitely matter. I mean, they lost to the Broncos last week and made Bo Nix look like a legitimate NFL quarterback with those injuries. But the Eagles potentially coming in without their right tackle, Lane Johnson, without Devonta Smith, their wide receiver too. We got to see about that. Their concussions. So we never know for sure, maybe even up and through the weekend. I don't think A.J. Brown's going to play again. So that's potentially Jahan Dotson, Johnny Wilson, their number 4 receiver Britton Covey's not even playing, who got more targets than I ever would have dreamed he would have gotten in this offense a week ago. So, like, I don't know who they're trotting out there for this passing game. And it looks like Vita Vea is going to play, which is going to make it a little tougher to run the ball, I would think here. I just think that as we record here on Friday morning, there are a lot worse things you can do than just teasing up the Bucs from 1.5 to 7.5, probably getting some good injury news here as we go along. And if you're watching this and the teaser leg's still not available, I think anything minus 110 or better on the money line for the Bucs just to win this game, because I trust their offense and their starters to be able to move the ball more than Jalen Hurts and these backup wide receivers for sure. All right.
I can get there. I can get there with that, Connor. we see last week, and you look at what Philadelphia was able to do, and I know there was a couple of injuries here and there along the way as the game went on, but Vic Fangio, I thought, was dialed up a masterclass last week against the Saints, and I thought it was really, really good. If you look at the overall defensive numbers for the Eagles, they don't jump off the page to you, but if you kind of go back and watch a couple of these games, like, I think he's got them heading in the right direction, which kind of gives me pause at least just a little bit as to what I think about this game in general. Very confusing game. The number seems like it's almost bait for you to go and take it with the Eagles. I think I would still play the Eagles if I had to play this one, but we don't have to play them all, so I might just sit this one out. What say you?
Yeah, this game is interesting for, a lot of the reasons you mentioned. I think the injury report, like A.J. Brown and Lane Johnson, I would say argue two of the most impactful players in like the entire NFC, not just like the Eagles, like the entire, like, the one in the league. And so both of them being out, plus Devonta Smith being out, on top of Jalen Hurts really struggling against Todd Bowles' defenses for the last couple of years. Like, I have a really hard time getting there with the Eagles. That being said, I wanted to be down on the Bucs coming into the season anyways. Like, their defense, I don't think is all that good. I think their offense is, I don't know, maybe a little overrated. I thought that last year was maybe a little bit of a flash in the pan. So for me, I kind of like Eagles team total under 20.5. I think is interesting. That's like plus money. You can get under 21.5 and minus 110. I just don't really see them having too much offensive success here. And I think that their defense, like you mentioned, can maybe slow down the Bucs offense here a little bit, enough to the point where this is just kind of like a slow, boring, bad game from Jalen Hurts and company. Because, we've seen Jalen Hurts without his top guys. It's not always pretty, to be honest. Hasn't really been the talent elevator. He's kind of just thrives when he's had a bunch of guys, awesome guys around him, and looked great at times. But that's not the situation heading into today. So for me, it's probably a lean on the team total under.
I know, just given what we see with this injury situation, Kalijah Kancey's not going to play for Tampa again. Antoine Winfield's not going to play for them again. You mentioned Vita Vea, Steven. He's put in a couple of limited practices, but it is still a knee. It's still a knee deal, and it's so even if he does play, it might like not be a full workload out there. They're high. The numbers are super high. I might just play some Barkley props on the fact that he's probably going to get like 85% target share. Like he's going to have like 80% usage in this. It could be crazy usage for Saquon in this game. And so,
by the way, the other thing with the Bucs, all this Bucky Irving hype this week, midweek downgrade from limited to DMP with a hamstring. So might be pumping the brakes on Bucky this week, right, Connor?
Yeah, and the coaching staff, so early in the week, they're like, oh, he's earned more touches, more snaps going forward. And then yesterday, I guess Friday or Thursday, they were like, oh, Rashad's still our starting running back, we're still going to see him. So I'm like, all right, well, so it's, that Bucky Irving season lasted, 6 days, put it on the tombstone,
It's like these coaches just refuse to put in the more efficient players, until they have to. They just won't. They won't do it.
He tore a guy's ACL last week. I
know. He stole his ACL, and then there's nothing we can do about it. Cincinnati Bengals on the road at the Carolina Panthers. This did dip down as low as 4. It's back up to 4.5. That was the resistance point. We're like, okay, no, it's gonna get back up to 4.5. 47.5 is our total here. In this one, we've seen Cincinnati just destroy every survivor pool there is on the face of the planet. They were the culprit in week 1 and week 3. And here we are sitting with survivor pools that have 5% of the remaining players through 3 weeks. Thanks, Cincinnati, on that one. Of course, the Red Rifle comes in and just slices and dices the Raiders last week. Connor, a pretty interesting game overall in the what do you believe is real bowl here in week number 4?
Yeah, this is a tough one because I was big on the Bengals heading into the season.
You and me both, buddy. You and me both, buddy.
And to be fair, I think their offense is, getting on track. It's not like they were bad. I thought they were fine. It's the defense that is astoundingly bad, so bad. They lost 2 of their starting defensive tackles, and so they're like, all right, Washington's going to run the ball a ton. They basically sold out to Lou Anarumo was like, we just can't let them run on us. We're going to make Jaden Daniels beat us. And boy, did he beat him. That was he did whatever he wanted. And this is, I was very, very surprised to see that. And now you have a Carolina offense that looked revitalized against the Raiders. Like, I'm very confident that Andy Dalton in most situations can be confident that with Dave Canales, he can execute what needs to be done. I mean, he was making some great throws to Tommy Tremble, to Deontay Johnson. They have him moving around a bunch. Like, Xavier Legette probably plays a bigger role without Adam Thielen now. And this Bengals defense is literally just like, they got nothing right now. They got no juice. Like up front, they can't stop the run. If they sell it to stop the run, teams are just going to pass a million times on them. So I think I would lean towards the Panthers here. I mean, it feels gross, and it probably is an overreaction to what we saw last week from both teams. But that would probably be my lean. I'm not excited to do it because I think that both teams can probably score here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, look, they might be without 3 of the 4 starting defensive linemen. Trey Henderson hadn't practiced at all this week either. So it's like you got Henderson that's not going. BJ Hill hasn't practiced at all. Sheldon Rankins hadn't practiced at all. We talk about it like Bucky Irving season only lasted a few. This is Chuba Hubbard season, apparently, like for this week. Like, get Chuba Hubbard in every single one of your lineups because he might run for 150 yards in this game. I like you, was very, very high on Cincinnati coming into the season, but if they can't do anything on the defensive line, then it's just very, very tough for me to want to back them in a game like this. I might end up playing the Panthers in the contests, at least that I'm in, and we'll go from there. I don't know, Steven. It's a very weird game because the offense from Cincinnati is clicking. I mean, like, the offense is rocking and rolling.
I have 2 bets in this game. First of all, a big injury note. Deontay Johnson was a midweek downgrade in the injury report, but he had an interview afterwards and said it was just the condition of the practice field and he was being cautious. So he's good to play. I don't know what's going on with these NFL owners in the fields, but like David Tepper, in between giving front page interviews on CNBC about investing in China, can we get a freaking practice field that the players aren't afraid to go on? That would be nice with your $1 billion. Okay. Panthers plus 4.5 in the account for me. Also over 47 is fine here for me as well. I bet both of those. Panthers, you have to draw a line through every single game included in the sample where Bryce Young is at quarterback. He was so bad that it brought down every other unit on this team. Like, they just had no shot. So it, like, anything Bryce Young related, you can't include. Now, we only have really 2 games of Andy Dalton quarterbacking this team with 2 different head coaches. But we also know that Andy Dalton over the past several years is still around a league average quarterback in terms of success rate. So last week didn't surprise me at all. And I do have belief that they could at least be, not bottom tier of the league in terms of their offense. They get a really good defensive matchup here against Cincinnati at home. And the Bengals have a short week to get ready for this game. So it's never the Bengals laying the points here with how bad their defense is. And I am of the belief that the Panthers can at least stay competitive in this game when they have the ball. And just, if coming off of that Monday night game where neither team punted and neither team forced a turnover, the market reacted and said, okay, the Commanders game, the total cannot be in the 40s, and it got bet up into the 50s. I don't understand why that's not the same case here with these 2 defenses, with the Panthers defense being unanimously agreed to be terrible. Same thing with the Bengals right now. I don't understand why this is still sitting at 47. It doesn't make any sense to me. It was one of the easiest bets I made this week. I also bet the over.
It's not a bet on the game, but it's a bet on a player in the game. So I'll put it there. I did play, though, this week Joe Burrow to lead the league in passing yards, because this defense, I think, is going to put them in situations where he's going to have to just throw and throw and throw a ton. I don't know if they're going to be able to just run a normal offense, at least for the time being anyway. And getting Higgins back in there, obviously Chase is an absolute stud. He's gotten, some work. He's gotten some decent stuff out of not only Gesicki, but some third and fourth wide receivers as well. It wouldn't surprise me if we look up and Joe Burrow's having to throw 40 plus times a game to keep this team in games. And so I put in Burrow to lead the league in passing yards as well. So just something, if anybody wants to take a look at that one. Denver Broncos and the New York Jets. This is 7.5 in favor of the Jets at home. 39.5 is our total. Oh boy. I bet the Broncos last week. That one. And now they're getting 7.5 in a 39.5 total. Oh boy. Traditional thinking in years past would be this is an auto bet. I don't know what to do here. What are you doing with it, Steven?
Teasing it, taking the Jets down to 1.5 here. I know Bo Nix looked better last week. I also know against two, respected defenses, he looked like a third string quarterback the first couple weeks of the year. So I'm not afraid of Bo Nix pulling an upset here. I love that the Jets are coming off having to play 3 games in 10 days, and now they get 10 days off to regroup, rest, have a better game, fully fledged game plan here. I think you get the best effort from the Jets here with all that rest after, a fairly easy schedule of the Niners game, but it was a lot of games packed into a small, schedule and calendar. So I'm pretty comfortable that the Jets win this game, and I think it's one of my favorite teaser legs of the week for sure.
Connor, we saw the Jets offense start to look a little bit more smooth. Looked like they were getting things a little bit together. And that's not, I guess, shocking when you consider Aaron Rodgers had not really played real games with this team. And so it maybe took a little bit to get going there. So I actually did kind of like what I saw from the Jets from an offensive perspective with all that, but we are asking for them to win this game by 8 or more points. And honestly, this 7.5 is juiced at a couple of books out there. So we might be headed to 8 somewhere along the way anyway, with the way that this is right now. It really comes down to, I don't know if we think the Broncos pull the outright upset. It's like, just can they keep it close or not?
Yeah, I like Steven's teaser angle. I think that's probably my favorite look, to be honest, because I don't know if I want to lay the 7.5 here, but I do think that there's like significant matchup advantages for the Jets on both sides here. Offensively for the Jets, we saw them play way better. And again, like you mentioned, like he's coming back from an injury. He's kind of getting back in the role of things. And I still think that there's upside for him to connect more with Garrett Wilson. I think that that's like still kind of a work in progress there. And when that's clicking in short distances in the red zone, like this offense, I think is going to look really good. And then defensively, week 1, they got absolutely steamrolled up the middle, which led to a lot of passing attempts that were like successful because I think that they tried to stop the run and it just didn't work. And then when they were, it was like passing all over them. That's just not going to be the case here against a Denver team that can't run the ball with Javonte Williams, can't run the ball with Jaleel McLaughlin. They brought in Tyler Beatty or Bidet. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's Bidet. I think it's literally super strange. And it's so anyways, that guy, Tyler, we'll call him Tyler. He carried out the entire fourth quarter. Javonte Williams fumbled, saw like 1 carry after, and then didn't touch the rest of the field the rest of the game. I played his under at like 32. It's sitting at 28. I think that's still kind of fine. I mean, I don't think he's cleared 25 yards in a single game so far. So it's one of those looks where I'm kind of interested in the under there. And then on the outside, like Courtland Sutton, Josh Reynolds against DJ Reed and Sauce, like it's just a terrible matchup. Like it's just not happening. So I like a lot of unders in this game as well.
Yeah, I played Garrett Wilson unders. He's going to get the Patrick Surtain treatment in this one, and I'm sure you guys have seen what Surtain has done to every receiver so far this year. He's allowed 63 receiving yards total, and he is shadowing number 1 receivers pretty much every week at this point. And I'm going to assume that he's going to do the same in this one. So it's kind of a Garrett Wilson under / like whoever you want to go with over, whether you think it's Mike Williams and or Alan Lazard or whatever, or something like that. I think that those are something that you kind of want to
another Conklin game
to look at. I mean,
Maybe.
Did you see what he did to Mike Evans last week? I mean, like he friggin' ate Mike Evans lunch last week. I mean, like it was ridiculous how good he was against Mike Evans last week. And so I know Garrett Wilson is better than Mike Evans at this point in their career, but I think Surtain's going to slow him down a little bit. So I went that angle here in this one. Washington Commanders and the Arizona Cardinals. This is 3.5 in favor of the Cardinals at home over the Commanders. 50.5 is our total here in this one. Connor, we see the Commanders look decent against the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, we don't have any respect for Cincinnati's defense, but hey, look, they let Jaden Daniels finally do what Jaden Daniels does, and he was able to go out there and get some stuff done on the offensive side of the ball. I still think the defense is probably trash, but the same could be said for the Cardinals as well, which is why we're sitting at a 50 total right here. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I want to like sell high a little bit on the Commanders, but this is just not the right spot to do that. And so, because we also know that the Cardinals don't really, from my understanding, they don't shift their defensive scheming up too much, and they're not a good run defense. We just saw them get, plowed last week on the ground. Like, I mean, if the Commanders can run the ball, that opens up even more in the passing game. Like they couldn't even run the ball against Cincinnati, and they were still having a great game, through the air and scoring wise. So for me, this is a really tough spot because like, I don't necessarily love the Cardinals defense. I think the Cardinals offense is clicking and should have an awesome day here against the Commanders defense, who hasn't been able to stop wide receiver ones since like 2022. I mean, literally, like this has been over a year at this point. Doesn't matter if you put in different coaches, it's maybe some different players. Emmanuel Forbes, I think, is a teacher at this point. I don't even know if he's on the field. Like, all these guys are just like terrible. They're terrible. And so Marvin Harrison Jr. overs are great looks. And I think all overs honestly are fine in this one because like both defenses should have a real tough time stopping the other.
Yeah, I'm with you. I am really curious about the Trey McBride situation here for the Cardinals. And I'm not saying that that's going to like definitely put me on a Commanders bet or anything, but if he can't get out there and there is one kind of less target out there for Kyler, it would at least make the 3.5 interesting to me. For the Commanders, seems like with what we saw last week with Jaden Daniels and that deep ball that I've been screaming at all year long, I'm like, why are they not throwing the ball down the field? Because this dude throws one of the best deep balls that there is, and they finally did it last week and it worked out. Seems like they're always maybe even open for a back door as well with this Commander squad, but I'm going to see what the official report is today on McBride and if he's going to be able to get out of concussion protocol or not. Steven, what do you have here in Commanders and Cardinals?
Remember after week 1 when I called the Commanders a fake offense? That's aged well. I mean, hats off to them. They've looked They haven't punted in 2 games. So, this is the game where I take a moment and plug our Discord because earlier this week we sent out notifications for, frankly, some soft openers we've been seeing very early in the week where a Commanders +6 was available on this game. Wow. So that feels really good for our community to have in our pocket right now. I think I still would take 3.5 here, Matt, if I'm coming in late, especially with this McBride situation. Marvin Harrison, he's going to play, but he's at least got a quad injury. Yeah, I mean, I think both of these defenses are bad. I'm not sure the Cardinals are a team that should be laying 3.5 right now, except for maybe, the Patriots missing all their offensive linemen. So I still think there's something with the Cardinals market rating that is being skewed too much from what we saw in their game against the Rams, where they played a half of an NFL roster. And I don't quite get all the love and support for the Cardinals to be winning games by margin at this point. And I'm going to keep betting against that while I still can.
Yeah, I think that, again, on the other side of 3, it's just really tempting with the Commanders. So I think the back, I mean, like, think about this, guy. Like, when you're on the other side of 3, you could be down 10 points in the fourth quarter, and then you score a garbage touchdown, and then you cover. Like, it's just like, that seems like so likely in a game like this in which you're going up against this Cardinals defense. So, I don't know. Maybe I just talked myself into putting that into the account. I guess we'll see. New England Patriots and the San Francisco 49ers. This is out to 10.5 now. So we have cleared the other side of 10. 40.5 is our total. I will say that again. It is a 10.5 point spread and a 40.5 total game with this one. We still have a bunch of injuries on the San Francisco 49ers side of things. Steven, it is your team. You probably follow them as close as anybody. Are we going to get any of these guys back this week, or are we going in with a shell squad as 10.5 point favorites?
Looks like maybe Debo back. We'll see. Don't think Kittle's coming back. Obviously, McCaffrey's going to be out for a while still. Trent Williams had an illness on the injury report, so I think he's fine to play this week. It's still not the fully formed Niners. And when you have games like that, I get nervous. And the Patriots are not talented, we'll just put it that way. But they've had 10 days to prepare. And the 49ers have had back-to-back weeks where opposing offenses have had pretty good success running the ball on them. So I'm wondering if the Patriots can do that in this game. I mean, the Niners by EPA and success rate defense against the run are outside the top 20. So that gives me pause. I'll just say I don't have a bet on this game, but it's surely never the Niners at this many points, not fully formed. I'll just say that.
Connor, we kind of know what New England is going to do in this game. They're going to run Ramondre Stevenson as many times as they possibly can and see what happens and see if they can have any success doing that. With that, if they do have at least a little success doing it, it can run the clock. It can make this game dirty and ugly and disgusting. And then covering a 10.5 point spread becomes at least a little bit of a challenge for the 49ers. It's just crazy. We're sitting here 10.5 on a 40.5 total. Used to be just an auto bet on the 10.5. You wouldn't even think about it. You wouldn't even think about opponent, but the Patriots came in and I said they were the worst team in the NFL. And then the Panthers tried to make me a liar, and thank God for Andy Dalton, because the Patriots are back being the worst team in the NFL. So I'm feel good about it again. What do you see here in this one?
Yeah, this is one of those games where, like, I feel like hindsight bias is going to be just wild, because if you tell me that, of course, the Patriots kept it close, they just ran the ball game, ended up being like whatever, I don't know, 17-10 or something like that.
Right.
Of course, they're going to cover against a Niners team that has nothing. And then vice versa, you tell me, oh, the Niners won 30-3 because the Patriots are the worst team in the league by far, and like they couldn't do anything. They fell behind 14-3, and it was just over because they had to throw the rest of the game. Like, I wouldn't be shocked either way. So,
right.
This is one of those games where I hate betting into those scenarios. Like I hate betting into the wide range of outcomes thing. So I would say most likely the Patriots keep it kind of close and they're able to run the ball a little bit. But like, I think that the Niners can see everything that we can see, right? Like they're like, all right, we're going to stop the run and make Jacoby Brissett beat us. And if Jacoby Brissett can beat us, I think we'll take that, and
yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at with this game. So for me, it's kind of a big stay away. Probably bet a lot of unders in the prop market, but nothing's really posted because we have like half the team injured. So
the only thing I know for sure is that Juwan Jennings is not going to go for 170 yards again.
Are you sure? Because this might be just Kyle Shanahan out of spite, right? I would not put it, like, as a Niners fan, I would not put it past Kyle Shanahan with like pulling a Larry David and going spite game. Brandon Ayuk with all his stupid off-season social media nonsense, hopping on a plane, hopping back, trade me, don't trade me, like F this guy at his 30 million. I'm letting Juwan Jennings get 180 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Connor, I'm glad you explained it the way that you did, because this is Steven has heard me say this a million different times on this podcast over the years, but games in which I can give myself multiple different outcomes that would not surprise me in the least bit are the first games that I scratch off when it comes to, and so this game fits right into that category. Like, it was the first game I scratched off this week. I'm like, dude, 49ers win by 20. I'd be like, of course they won by 20. If I go back and it's like time of possession is the Patriots have the ball for 40 damn minutes because they're just grinding these 8-minute drives or something, and the Niners only win by 6 or whatever, I'll be like, yeah, okay, well, whatever. Look at time of possession and whatever. So yeah, I can't get there in games like this. I probably won't even watch this friggin' game.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, yeah.
Quarter screen game for sure.
Yeah. Won't even look at this stupid game. Cleveland Browns and the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are 1.5 point favorites at home. 37.5 is our total. Connor, when we last saw the Cleveland Browns, they were not taking the gift that the Giants were trying to hand them. The Giants continued to say, hey, if you really want to win this game, you can. Here you go. We're going to let you try. We're going to let you try. And then Deshaun Watson doesn't have the talent to do that anymore, though he did make a throw that hit a wide receiver directly in the numbers. And it didn't work out. His only good throw of the game. The Raiders got throttled last time we saw them by the Panthers. So, what do we have in here in this one?
I just didn't understand the Browns game plan last week against a Giants team that, everyone has been like, you can run on us. Like, that's fine. We're going to let 5.5 yards per carry. And they're like, no, we're going to go spread. We're going to, we're going to pass the ball as much as possible with Deshaun Watson without David Njoku. Like, to me, I was just like, what is going on here? And so I think it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when Deshaun Watson gets benched at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be here. If they play horrible here, like, he has to get benched. This has to be it, because the Raiders are not a good defense. Max Crosby looks, questionable at best, hasn't barely been practicing. And that's like the only lifeline of this defense.
Right.
And so without that, like, I really struggle to see how this Raiders team can slow them down. But at the same time, like, this is almost another, stoppable force, movable object,
Mm-hmm.
game like here. And so it's one of those things where I want to play the Browns because I think they're the far, far better team, but I just have such little confidence in the Browns doing anything, remotely, optimal from an offensive perspective here. There's a million ways they can win the game, and I'm sure they're going to find the one way to not do it.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was just like he's the offensive line was compromised last week. It was anyway, and they just allowed they kept calling pass over and over and over again, allowed Deshaun Watson to get pressured every single friggin' drop back, and he doesn't handle pressure very well at all. He looks like he's never played football before whenever he gets pressured and starts running around in circles and stuff. Like, Steven, I came into the season wanting to give the Browns the benefit of the doubt and just saying, like, okay, look, now there's no excuses. There's no rust angle here. You got the offensive line. You brought in another weapon for him, all the different stuff like that. And nothing has materialized with this team at all. I think he is a bottom half quarterback, if not a bottom 10 quarterback at this point.
Keep going.
And
keep going.
And it wouldn't surprise me if the Raiders won this game. Like, we go like, holy shit, I can't believe the Raiders beat them by 13 points in this game. But it's like, I've seen nothing from the Browns offense other than Amari Cooper making a couple of like toe tap catches in the game last week that has inspired any confidence whatsoever.
Okay, so first of all, let's do the offensive line update for the Browns here, because Conklin, back-to-back DMPs at tackle. The other tackle, Wills, back-to-back DMPs. Batonio, the guard, back-to-back limited. Another guard, Cohen, back-to-back limited. We haven't even gotten to Myles Garrett, who's got 3 injuries on the injury report and went from DMP to limited. And Njoku, who the hell knows if he's playing.
But you heard what Garrett said, right? An injured animal is the most dangerous animal. Is what he said.
No, those are the ones that get eaten, dude.
Yeah,
have you never watched the Discovery Channel?
I know. I wanted to be like, no, man, the slow gazelle's the one that gets eaten, bro. Like, no,
What are you
man, like,
talking
no,
about?
he's not dangerous at all. His ass is getting killed. Like, no, that's not what's going on. But,
I'm not going to tell Myles Garrett that. If you want to tell him that, you my guess.
I will not personally tell him.
Yeah, I'll say it here in my remote studio where he doesn't know where I live.
Mr. Garrett, if you are listening to this podcast, I'm sorry. Apologies in advance. Like, please don't destroy me.
It's not your fault, Miles, that you have a weirdo at quarterback and a bad offensive line or an injured offensive line. Anyway, one of the easiest bets I made this week, honestly. Raiders. We got it plus 1.5 very early in the week. I think, anything under 3 here, I'd still be fine with the Raiders, to be honest with you. Like, Connor, you said you think Watson's going to get benched at some point here. I don't disagree with you. I hope he never gets benched, man. Like, one of the worst bets I made coming into the year was Browns to win the division at like plus 550. Because I just thought it was a crazy number after the job Stefanski did last year, but made it all back last week with that ridiculous spread of Giants plus 6 and 2-1 money line. Like, I'm good on that future now, man. I hope he never gets benched because, like, I'll say it again, as each lawsuit piles up, his metrics go down. Like, he's in the Zach Wilson category now since 2022 with how bad he's been, and he's got no offensive line helping him in front of him. So, the Raiders are just going to be like this Jekyll and Hyde team, right? Like, they're going to be terrible some weeks and they're going to have a pulse because they do have talented players with Devontae Adams and Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers. We'll see about Max Crosby, whether he plays this week. But
look, the team rallied around Antonio Pierce to get the job, and so they gave it to him. But he's in over his head, dude. Like, he's in over his head. He's making horrible in-game decisions, and like that's basically what is holding this Raiders team back from being at least like mediocre. Right? They could be this team where we would look at week in, week out and go, you know what? They're like just middle of the pack, right? Like, take it or leave it or whatever. But like, I have to downgrade him a little bit because Pierce just can't handle the in-game stuff.
Right. But you're not asking me now, like last week, you were asking me to bet on the Raiders to win by 5 or more points, which is ludicrous. Now you're just asking me to beat one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, one of the worst offensive lines in the league. So I signed up for it. I'm good. And it is narrative street, but I like the players' responses to, Pierce calling them out. They said we got to be the ones that like hold people accountable as well. So I like hearing that. I think that having worked in an NFL locker room, I do think that matters. And I've seen teams and players work better that following week when there is accountability amongst the players and not just the coach calling them out in front of the media.
Yeah, you were working in the locker room, Stephen, but you were washing their jock straps. So I mean, like, I don't, I mean, like, what did you really learn when you were in there doing that? I don't.
Every job has dignity, Matt. Every job has dignity.
Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Chargers. This is a full touchdown, and we just, my screen flashes. We have a first 7.5 hit out there in favor of the Chiefs. 40 is the total pretty much across the board. There are a couple of 39.5s. Stephen, I know he's practicing in a limited fashion. I think it would be ridiculous for them to trot Justin Herbert out there, and that you are going to have to sit him down at some point. It's like a high ankle sprain just doesn't heal magically, right? So it's like the only thing that heals a high ankle sprain is rest. And so you either sit him down now or you sit him down 3 weeks from now whenever it gets worse. And so you're making this decision one way or the other. I don't know why they would play him. It's a game that they're not supposed to win anyway. So why in the hell would you trot him out there to game you're a touchdown underdog? But neither here nor there. The thought of I always do this whole deal of like, but that's the rational thought. And then the rational thought never actually plays out. So I don't know. I mean, if you want to talk about a natural teaser leg, this seems like the most natural teaser leg ever. The team with the least amount of home field advantage of any team in the NFL. It's going to be half Chiefs fans as it is anyway there, if not more. Getting them down to where they only have to win by a point and a half, whatever. Like that seems like a slam dunk. Yeah.
Anchor teaser leg for me. I used the Chiefs with a bunch of different teaser options this week, including the other ones I mentioned in the show with the Bucs and the Jets. So no tackles as well. You mentioned Herbert, but the tackles are injured as well. So you're going to trot him out there as a statue without either of his tackles on top of it. I know they run it a ton with, playing hardball out there, but easiest decision I made this week was teasing the Chiefs. I don't feel like I need to get into metrics or anything. You have two hurt tackles.
You're like, it's the Chiefs down to 1 against the quarterback that can't walk. So I mean, there, boom,
done.
There it is.
Go ahead, Connor.
There you go. There's your analysis. Boom! Look at that. We are so smart. Look at us. I know, we're crazy smart.
Well, I don't know much to add. I feel like Steve Spagnuolo is just going to send the house and play man coverage every play. Just literally stop the run and then just blitz and play single high and make Quentin Johnston and Ladd McConkey beat him.
Right.
It seems like a slam dunk game plan. If they don't do that, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be applying for the job.
That's going to be seriously, that's going to be me screaming. I'm going to be guy screaming at the TV that day, right? If that's not the game plan, I'm literally like, what are you doing? This is so obvious. Come on. The guy's got a broken ankle for crying out loud. It's just,
so they're for sure just going to play 3 on the line, 2 high, 6 in the box. That's for sure what's going to happen now. It's going to be, and then the Chargers will run all game and keep it within 7 somehow. But no, I like Chiefs -7. I mean, I just don't, I don't see it. I just really don't see it.
Yeah. Here's the, just Matt, if Herbert plays and this actually goes, it touched 6.5 for a quick second, real early in the week. So I'm not saying it's impossible. If Herbert plays and this comes off the 7 because Herbert's quote unquote playing, 6.5 break your heartbeat finger on the Chiefs.
Yeah, then you break your fingers. Yeah, making punching in the number for sure. If people are going to react to Herbert playing at 60%, then
just wanted to cover that scenario.
Yes, by all means, please. Sunday night football, Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. This is 2.5 in favor of the Ravens. 46.5 is our total. And Connor, this is a very interesting Sunday night football game because you have the Bills who have looked like absolute world beaters and looked like maybe one of the, if not the best teams in all of the NFL, coming in as underdogs against a Ravens team that I think you could nitpick pretty hard from what we've seen through the first couple of weeks of the season. Super, super interesting game on Sunday night.
Yeah, I bet Bills money line here is one of my favorite bets of the week. And part of this has to do with this Ravens defense specifically. So we saw Joe Brady, who's largely been a run-heavy offensive coordinator throughout his time, with the Bills. Last week they come out 32 dropbacks, 7 running back carries before the 2-minute warning in the first half. And this is before the game. It was 34-7 or something at that point. And now you get a team that's one of the biggest pass funnels in the league. Number 1 rushing success rate allowed, second to run to EPA. They've played mostly bad running offenses. But their pass defense, 24th in dropback success rate, 26th in dropback EPA. This is one of the biggest, in my opinion, discrepancies here. Like if they go pass heavy, like Josh Allen is going to cook. Like I took Josh Allen over 228. I think his alter in play like 260, 300, especially if we get any pushback here from the Ravens, which again, the market's 2.5. Like there are smart people on the Ravens. I don't see it, but that leads me to believe that I'm probably missing something, or the Ravens are going to have success on offense, which is very possible. And so I think that the overs in this game are just like a slam dunk for me. If they go run heavy, I mean, just fire Joe Brady into the sun. I mean, this is another one that I'm like,
right.
Like I would be shocked to see that happen.
I'm with you 100%. I'm willing to be proven wrong, and I'm willing to come back with hat in hand and say like, okay, I just missed out on that. But I have a lot of questions about the Baltimore team, and I have very few questions about Buffalo. And then the other thing, Steven, and this is something I said last year about Baltimore, and I think it's even more in play this year, is they need to be front runners, man. Like, and if Buffalo comes out and jumps out ahead of these guys, like, and gets them out of what they really want to do, I am A-okay if you're putting us in a situation that Lamar has to throw 45 times to like keep this close, where Mark Andrews obviously is not right. He's only running, like he played 20% of the snaps or something last week or something like that. So like, he's not healthy. There's all kinds of stuff I think that you could poke a hole in here on the Ravens side of things. I get it. It's a home game, and it's a home game at night, and that does give the team at least a little bit of juice, but I like the Bills here.
I do too. I found a +3 -120 earlier this week. Again, get in our Discord, sign up for the notifications. I'd still bet +2.5 here if you have a little more risk tolerance. I think money line's in play as well. I agree with both of you guys. The most encouraging thing for me was not so much that they scored a bunch of points and blew out the Jaguars. It was how they did it. The assumption we had about Joe Brady coming into the year is that he was going to be run heavy no matter what. And the matchup last week against a pretty solid Jags defensive line and a terrible secondary was not to run it a ton, but to throw it a lot. And they scripted a lot more passing plays than they did running plays. The fact that he was flexible in his game planning and his play calling was by far the most encouraging thing for me in this Bills team any given week moving forward, that I now have the confidence that they're going to maximize their opportunities and their matchups no matter who they're playing. So that's fantastic. And if that's the case, Connor, then I do think Josh Allen's going to throw the ball a lot. The other thing, too, here is more of like a betting market philosophical thing, Matt. I've heard a lot of talking points this week about people who are betting the Ravens because they're selling high on the Bills. I'm going to sell high on the Bills because they've reached the top of, near the top of their market rating and their market opinion. You can have that opinion, but price still matters. And this line to me, if you take away home field advantage, is telling me that the Ravens are either equal or slightly better than the Buffalo Bills. How can that be selling high on the Bills? How can that be the top of the market rating after what we've seen a couple of the weeks? That makes no sense to me. That the opinion and the price do not add up here. The price still matters. In my opinion, this is still getting a good price on the Buffalo Bills. And even if the bet loses, I'll feel good about the price because they cannot be the same or an underdog to the Ravens on a neutral field after what we've seen the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, this offense absolutely humming. It is the number one overall DVOA team. It is the number one overall DVOA offense. It's the number one overall offense in EPA. It is the number one overall pass offense EPA. I mean, like the offense has just been so good. And I think Brady just keeps doing what works. I know that we beat him up a little bit in past gigs and stuff like that. But I mean, I go back to when he was at LSU and he basically just like, oh, I've got all these awesome players. I should probably just let these awesome players do what they do every single time. And they put up one of the most prolific offenses in the history of college football. I can't imagine you see through the first 3 weeks of the season how awesome things have gone and go, yeah, but maybe it's going too good. Let's rein it back in a little bit. Like, no, man, just keep doing what you're doing and go out there and put up a bunch of points, a bunch of yards. And so I'm going to listen. The assumption of rational coaching has cost me a lot of money over the course of the years. So we'll see, whatever. I'll assume rational coaching and then I'll come back on here next week and go, yeah, look at that. I'm such an idiot, but it is what it is. Guys, as always, everything we do absolutely free. So please hit that subscribe button. Do appreciate you hanging out. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know in the comment section what game stood out to you. What did we miss? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Let's be frank. You're only going to put what you disagree with in there. That's fine. Just tell us what you disagree with and tell us that we're idiots and all that. And we'll go in. We'll read them for sure. Don't think Steven doesn't go back in the comments, because we made a clean sweep on Thursday night when everyone was calling us idiots, and Steven went in there and did a little poking of the bear. So, like, it's just a little poking of the bear. Just a little poking of the bear in that. Of course, if you have not already, go in, check out all the great work Connor and company are doing over at 4 for 4. It is literally not only sports betting, but great fantasy stuff, DFS stuff, and great projection systems that you're going to want to use in your process. So be sure and put that to play over there for Connor. For Steven, I'm Matt. Good luck on all your week 4 bets.